I was born an immigrant son. My father, my mother voted Democrat. Everyone in my family voted Democrat. Most of them still do, because they never evolved. Like children, they're too lazy to evolve. They do what their fathers did, what their mothers did. They don't understand what's going on in this country. I evolved as I got cauterized by the liberal left in this country, when I saw how they went after the productive individuals in this country with a vengeance, and how they seem to want to victimize everybody because victims are easy to control. But that's baby talk. I want to go back to the book and continue, and I'm going to hit you some headlines. But I'm asking you again, what policy, act, or omission convinced you to vote against him? Reversing the Obama energy policy, I'll scan over that. Fixing the global economic mess, I'll scan over that. Cleaning up health care, you've heard enough about that. Restoring the Constitution, you've heard enough about that. Important stuff, but you've heard about it. The Savage Revolution, so I'll read that to you, because that's novel. Here's why the advice I'm giving is so important to the next president. I worry that the Republicans don't truly understand what the Obama administration is doing to America. They submitted to the left-wing inquisitions that were passed off as debates during the Republican presidential primary. Do you hear that? And they let themselves be attacked and destroyed by David Axelrod and the labor union cohorts who have formed mobs to perpetuate the corrupt ideology. The Republican candidates sniped at each other, destroying their own credibility as if the most important thing was which one of them got nominated. When what is really important is that we find a candidate who knows what is going on. Well, we found one, I guess. After what Newt Gingrich did to him, I would say Newt Gingrich should be excommunicated from the Republican Party. Part of the problem is this. As I've told my listeners over and over, there's no real difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. At a certain level, they've been trading 8-year presidential terms since 1980, with Republicans getting the presidency for 2 terms, then Democrats for 2. At bottom, it doesn't matter which party you belong to. The important thing is to know that Obama is not from either party. Obama is a party unto himself. It's an election about rejecting his socialism. I continue now with the case against Obama, because this is an election about rejecting the socialistic policies, the corruption, the graft, and the tyranny of the Obama administration. It is not so much for Romney, who is himself a big government Republican. And as I explained to you many times, and in my book, A Trickle-Down Tyranny, Obama is a naked Marxist who is out to take over the United States as part of a larger plan to establish a collectivist world government. He's appointed leftist academics with no real-world experience to make every important decision, from foreign policy to economic strategy to energy to the military. And how'd that work out for you leftists? How'd that work out for you? The Arab world blew up. The country is bankrupt. The Energy Department is a scam to give money to cronies through the false solar projects. He has decimated the military, demoralized the military. He was commander-in-chief when 22 Navy SEALs were put onto a single Chinook helicopter. They all died, but the media won't tell you about that. He's bowed down to foreign leaders around the world. He's determined to see the U.S. given to the leftist and Islamist forces that are gaining power in the Middle East, Europe, and South America, whereas foreign policy has focused on abandoning our former friends and making new friends of Islamist and communist dictators. I'll go on. Barack Obama. We face a threat that goes far beyond any we've faced since before the fall of the Soviet Union. Barack Obama must be defeated in 2012 if our country is to survive as a free nation. Obama has made a pact with the devil, and he's dragging the American people down with himself as he makes allies of the Islamist dictators in the Middle East and tries to ingratiate himself with the Russian, Chinese, and South American communist regimes. It's time for the savage revolution. I'm the only one explaining to you that Obama is in the process of taking our power to govern ourselves out of the hands of the American people and turning it over to a world government run by people who hate the United States and the freedom it represents. Along with the Tea Party, which the Republican Party seems determined to damn into irrelevancy, I'm telling you that you've got to take back control of the country. You've got to take what I'm giving you tonight in the Savage Nation and translate it into action at the voting booth tomorrow. I explained to you that we have a chance to vote a naked Marxist president out of office. My work tonight exposes the entire leftist mafia that controls the courts, the schools, and the economy. The Savage Revolution will enable us to drive them out of power permanently. They will still be here, but I'm making sure they'll no longer be able to hide in the shadows, peddling their influence indirectly, affecting policy. They'll never again have the power to change the United States radically over a short time, as Obama has done. This can only happen if the message of the savage revolution is carried by the Republican candidate. The savage revolution will be built on a return to America's core values, a reestablishment of the Constitution as the basis of American law. It will mean that America once again asserts itself militarily and economically as the most powerful nation on earth, committed to standing against the tyrannical forces of radical Islam and the radical left. The savage revolution will mean developing policy for the good of the American people based on legitimate science and conservative economic principles. It will be characterized by enlightened regulation designed not to restrict American enterprise but to encourage it. We must demand from our next president nothing less than a commitment to these values, policies, and actions, and the restoration of American honor that has been so diminished under Barack Obama. If Barack Obama is elected for another 4-year term, he'll be president for life. He'll be the new Hugo Chavez. He'll do away with the 2-term limit and win the 2016 election with 90% of the vote. We have less than 6 months to make sure this doesn't happen. Well, now we have one night to make sure this doesn't happen, don't we? And so I'm going to continue tonight with the case against Obama. This is one man's opinion. Chapter 2 is Tyranny of a Naked Marxist Presidency, and I'll go into that in a moment. It's from my voluminous book, Trickle-Down Tyranny, which was on the New York Times list for many weeks. Many of you never heard of it. That's because the media will not have any exposure of Michael Savage. And yet my loyal listeners know who I am very well. It's time now to hear from some of my loyal listeners. What policy, act, or omission convinced you to vote against Obama? Let's begin on KSFO. Clarence and Modesto, go ahead, please.
Yes, Michael, I have 2 issues. The first for me was the Keystone Pipeline.
Yes.
Obama, if he was serious about creating jobs, lowering gas, lowering natural gas, he would have been at that pipeline christening it with a bottle of Dom.
Now, why did Obama not permit the Keystone XL pipeline to be built from Canada to New Orleans? I mean, excuse me, from Canada into the United States. You know the reason, but give it to the audience. I know the reason.
Well, of course, he's not interested. He's not interested in lowering our gas price. He's not interested in jobs, not private industry jobs.
No. Well, let me move on. I'll answer the question that you raised it, but you don't have the answer. The reason Obama vetoed the XL pipeline is twofold. One, in order to promote the fraudulent green energy jobs, green energy scams that he has become famous for. Billions of dollars given to cronies for fraudulent solar companies, and we'll name them later on. But there's another reason. His good friend, Warren Buffett, the nice old man who pretends that he is not really rich, the richest man on earth, or one of them, Warren Buffett did not want the Keystone XL pipeline to bring oil into America through a safe, secure pipeline without the need for ships, trucks, or trains. You know why? Because Warren Buffett owns the rail lines that currently carry Canadian oil into the American heartland. It's that naked. It is that naked, but you can't accept that because most of you believe in Christmas, in Santa Claus. Most of you believe in Santa Claus, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. You believe in Snow White. And you don't want to believe that men are that greedy, that nakedly greedy, and that they can control a president. You don't want to accept that. But you go to a movie, and if a liberal does the movie, then it's real to you. If Martin Scorsese does it, and it's an evil Republican who's that corrupt, then you can buy it, sure. But if it's a corrupt Democrat, doesn't happen. See, that's how it works. So, what turned you against this man? When did you see through him? 1-855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Okay? Orlando, Michael, you're on the Savage Nation. What did it for you? What turned you against Obama?
Hi, Savage. Good to hear you back on the radio. And I just wanted to say the shutting down the space program with NASA has really upset me. When the space program was built, it was built to build the morale of the country during hard times. And it almost seems unpatriotic to me as an American to shut down a program that was, in my opinion, pretty successful at the time of shutting it down.
That is correct. But Obama destroyed NASA for another reason. Do you know that we now have to put our astronauts on Russian shuttles and pay for the seats? Do you know that? I'm sure you do know that, right?
Oh, yes, I've seen it on the news, and it's kind of...
Do you know that our astronauts are now flying on the back of the bus? He's turned them into second-class astronauts?
Yes, sir.
Why did he do that? He did it for the same reason leftists have long sought to diminish American military power. It's because he wanted our enemies to gain an advantage in space so that we would not be so militaristic. Not quite so militaristic that his academic lunatic friends at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and the other institutions of lower learning would respect him, so that America becomes a weakened nation, sort of the Portugal of our time. And Obama gets the credit for having cut this nation into a gelding, to be quite specific. Obama has gelded the military, if you get the gist of the story. But again, with a little help from his friends. No, he doesn't get high with a little help from his friends. No, he gets by with a little help from his friends to take advantage of the Beatles tune. Yeah, he gets by with a little help from his friends at NBC and CBS and CNN and MSNBC. He gets by with a lot of help from his friends. You look at the polls. Can you believe what they've done? Can you believe that they've been top-loading these polls with D plus 6, D plus 8? You know what that means? Does anyone know what that means? I know what it means. Do you know what it means? All the polls are showing Romney winning, except a few which show a very close one. And they're all top-loaded with more Democrats by 6 percentage points or 8 percentage points than Republicans. This is how naked these communists in the media have become. These stooges, I have nothing but contempt for them. Every poll is showing Romney surging. Gallup, ABC, Washington Post, Rasmussen, Romney is surging, and so we all fear only one thing. We fear the following. Obama should have been impeached when he granted amnesty to at least 1.3, it's probably closer to 3.1 million illegal aliens, giving them instant citizenship under the fraudulent moniker of Dreamers, the Dream Act. How many of them do you think will be voting in this election? You know the Democrats have worked around the clock to make certain that illegal aliens can vote by prohibiting voter ID. Now, why would anyone prohibit voter ID? What sane person would say, no, we don't want voter ID? Do you need ID to go into a nightclub? Yes. Do you need ID to drive a car? Yes. But you don't need ID to vote? Why not? Like when I go to vote tomorrow, I'm going to show them my license, and I want the little old communist lady to say, oh, no, don't show me that. And I'll say, why don't you demand it of everyone? I do it every year. They get nervous. They almost want to call the police. I want you tomorrow to tell the wobblies in there that you want voter ID, and you want it now. I've seen busloads of illegals being brought to polls. I've gotten reports of them in Minnesota of Somalis being bussed from voting place to voting place. Do you know that or don't you know that? You're dealing with the most corrupt machine in American history, let's say modern American history. Maybe it was worse before the Civil War. I wouldn't know. I wasn't here. But I've never seen anything quite like this. And they get away with it for a number of reasons. Mainly because people are asleep, drugged, partying, dancing, stoned. I don't know what they are. The show, I know what it is. It's 855-400-SAVAGE, 400-7282. What policy, act, or omission convinced you to vote against Obama? Tonight we're doing one thing only, which is the case against Obama. It's our last chance. Tomorrow is the election. I'll be on the air with you right through the election. Do you actually think it's going to be resolved as it normally should be in the evening? You know it won't. You know that the corrupt Democrats are going to challenge it as long as they can. Delay, 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 deny, deny, deny. Sue, sue, sue. Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. Sue, sue, sue. Sue, 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 because I'm a lawyer. I'm a Democrat lawyer. I went to law school. I'm a lawyer. That's what's coming in this country. That's what's coming. I don't know. When I was a kid, there was one election day. My father took a morning off from work and he went and voted. Usually it was raining or snowing. How did it happen that you now have absentee ballots, mail-in ballots, talk-in ballots, walk-in ballots, freezer ballots, microwave ballots? I've never seen anything like this. I feel as though I'm living in a South American banana republic. Whatever happened to Election Day? Who decided that it's okay to mail them in a month ahead, 2 weeks ahead, 3 weeks ahead? And who's counting your votes? as I disclosed in Trickle-Down Tyranny, 6 states have outsourced the counting to a socialist country and a socialist company in Spain. That's right, it happened right under your eyes, owned by a group that includes George Soros. That's right, your vote is being counted by George Soros' minions. 6 states have outsourced the counting to this company. It's spelled out in Trickle-Down Tyranny. Now, don't expect confirmation in your newspaper. They'll deny it, but I have the data. It's in my book. The case against Obama continues when I return right here on The Savage Nation.